business is not packaging. Our business is building relationships and connecting on it, which is what you've mentioned.
Yep.
We take it to the next degree. We say, look, our currency is packaging.
Wow. Welcome to the Good News Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Darling, along with Carlo Navarro, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And we are so incredibly excited about this episode. While we were at the Afflink Summit in Palm Desert, California, we took over the Marriott Resorts library and set it up into a podcast studio. And I don't think Carlo or myself were really expecting what we got in this interview. We interviewed the president of Ernest Packaging out in California. And the reason why I'm having to do this intro separate is because our conversation just took off and was so incredible that I finally was like, we just have to push record. We'll do the intro later. This is too great not to get recorded. And so I'm so excited for you to hear this episode because I think it's going to radically change how you look at culture, leadership, sales, employee engagement, collaboration, the insights that Tim brings into how he is creating the culture and the organization within Ernest Packaging is absolutely, it's transformational. It's encouraging. It's very, very finite in a sense of like it's implementable in almost any company there is out there. So this is an interview that Carlo and I have been so excited about putting it out there, and we just hope that you find it as insightful and valuable as what we did. So without further ado, let's take it out to the Palm Desert Marriott Resort in the library and introduce you to Tim Wilson, the president of Ernest Packaging.
All right. So I want to continue and build on that conversation that we were just talking about it and creating the culture for the younger generation that's coming into the workforce. And Carlo and I, what I find really timely about you and what we were just talking about, Tim, is Carlo and I, before we even came in here, I said, you know, one of the biggest takeaways that I hoped people got today from the workshop that I led wasn't just about how do you go out and find more new customers. It's how can we help reshape their perspective from when we're bringing on younger, newer talent into our organizations. How do we shift the perspective from how are they going to support us and our initiatives as an organization to how can we help support and empower the success of these people coming on, helping them find purpose in their work, helping them feel connected to the people that they work for, like they're cared for, knowing that when we do that as organizations with the right people who are coming into our organization, because sometimes we hire people that are not the greatest fit, but the ones that are, that the success is of the overall organization is a byproduct of the support and empowerment of the people we're hiring. And you leading an organization in distribution where there's higher turnover rates and sales teams and different things, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge in business today when it really comes to building a culture that captivates the hearts and the abilities of the people you're recruiting?
Well, that's a lot. You know, it's a great thing. And what you said really, I want to change the narrative. If you start a business today and you say people fail and we'll find somebody else, or you can start a business today and say I failed because I didn't build the kind of support and nurturing that would make somebody thrive. And so when you put it on me to do better to support people, you have a better company, I think, than when you blame it on that person who comes in and out. So just to give you an example, at Ernest, we have this intense program of hiring young, talented people to come into our organization and sell. And we've done a lot of analysis on the attributes to make a person successful. And, we can come back and forth and I can have you guess what they are, but in the interest of time, I'll just tell you. There's actually 4 main ingredients to make somebody successful. Passion. They have to have a real passion for it. 2, grit. They've got to work hard. 3 is optimism. They have to know in their heart they're going to win. They're going to make this thing work. The 4th is the most interesting. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the company. It's nurturing. So you have all these people, and I can hire and you can find tests anywhere to get you those 3 attributes, right? You can take the this test, you can take the this test, or that test. So we at Ernest say it's not because these people aren't good. It's because we didn't do a good job nurturing them to see that this was a successful company for them to work, or they just didn't have the passion for this business.
Wow.
That's the narrative.
Wow.
The other thing that is also that makes it different is if I tell you, and this is about all commodities, if I tell you you're going to come to this company, but you're going to sell commodities, you're going to sell whatever it is, no one is going to love that job. When I was young and I came to Ernest, it was kicking and screaming. Now, it was a family business, and my dad said, you got to come to Ernest. And I said, over my dead body, and literally you can narrate the hell out of this. But think about it. I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I want to find somebody. I go to a bar, and I tell them I'm in packaging. That doesn't work for me.
It's not sexy.
It is not, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last thing I wanted to do, okay? Just tell you. If my dad would have said, I'm going to build this business, and it's all about relationship building, and you are going to have friends for the entire time you are there because these are partners, and literally everything you do are helping them to succeed because they cannot ship their product to market if it doesn't look good, have a great message, get there in time, and a low cost. You're going to build a relationship with somebody that you're going to have for 30 years, 40 years, or whatever. And you're going to learn to be the best at connecting. I would have said, hell yeah, I'm in for this because I can use those lessons in life.
Yep.
And that's our business. Our business is not packaging. Our business is building relationships and connecting on it, which is what you've mentioned.
Yep.
We take it to the next degree. We say, look, our currency is packaging.
Wow. Wow. It's so interesting to me because sitting here and listening to you, I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation with leaders at other distributors and
they're successful. I'm not. That's
right. Well, no, it's amazing to me because there's some that I believe really understand that and get it and do a very incredible job at it. And there's others that just don't see it that way, and they wonder why they continue to have the same challenges that they've had before. Tim, was this something that as you grew as a leader at Ernest that you continued to grow, or was there a shift at some point in your perspective as to now leading this organization? This is what I believe is the biggest focus for us of how we become successful as an organization.
I've been blessed with a great degree of curiosity. And I came from my mom. My mom was super curious and always taught me to look at things and just sort of see what's going on. And so as a curious person, the world is going to that. And I was seeing that. And I'm saying, I might be in this industry, but the world is going to this. And I want to be on top of the world. I want to do what the world is going to. And so literally one of the things that we did, which was the smartest thing we ever did, was on my board of advisors, I have one of the leading brand agencies in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
So that Silicon Valley thinking, which is not really revolutionary, but it's unrestricted.
Right.
And I think great leaders are unrestricted. They look at things in other areas and they say, how can I adapt it to this? So I tell everyone, I'm not smart, but I'm really good at stealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where this whole thing of relationship came. And it's really become even more with the science about relationships and everything else building. People are afraid that the way we connect is changed. And so people my age are like, oh, well, that's wrong. It's not wrong or right.
Yep. It's just different.
It's just different. So how do you embrace it and how do you move on? And one of the things that really is amazing to me is this whole concept of human connection.
Mm.
And as we go back in some of the things like Etsy, everyone's familiar with Etsy.
Yep.
Etsy was doing really well, but they had the wrong stakeholders. They were more interested at the time in pleasing their suppliers, but not their core audience. And they got a new CEO, and he said, this is wrong. It's about human connection. We're going to make Etsy all about human connection. And everything changed. And so at Ernest, what we said is human connection, caring, has to be at the core. And so Ernest is one of those few companies, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, where instead of cutting people, we actually have the most people touching a customer than anyone in our whole industry. When we count, it was really funny. You talk about 14 different people that you will see at a customer. And yet, if you, I hate to say Amazon, you'll probably get this. How many people touch an order at Amazon? 2, the warehouseman, maybe, and a driver. At Ernest, we have 13 people touching an order.
Wow.
Because you could be a sales manager, it could be a salesperson, it could be the credit manager, it could be the client coordinator that we have. It could be the merchandiser, it could be our design specialist team. We have all these ways of making that human connection. We use AI, we use all these technologies as tools to help us grow that connection, as opposed to replace.
Yeah. Well, and it's that understanding that, Carlo and I actually have talked about this a lot, and about authentic AI and how do you use AI to bolster your ability to connect with the right people, but make sure that people can easily go on ChatGPT and create all types of stuff and never read through it, never look over it, never make sure that it has their tone, their voice, communicates the way they do, and the message gets lost in it, right? But when we view these things as tools to build connections with people, everything, I think about, and we were just talking about it with Brian Porter. I met Porter because I started following him on LinkedIn, and I started seeing a lot of the content and stuff that he was putting out. I started looking at videos, recruitment videos you guys were doing on YouTube. And I remember being at Lantech and asking this question: why are we not working with Ernest Packaging? Well, Ernest, they sell the other. I'm like, I don't care. Do you see the things that they're doing and how they're recruiting people, how they're building relationships using social media? Because this was all stuff that I was currently doing that I was being told I was crazy for.
Yeah, exactly.
And wasting my time. And
even today,
being told that, and looking at guys like Porter and building so much familiarity because of his willingness to be present on social media and share a bit of his story in how he serves and showing a little bit of visibility into who he is. I go up to him at PMMI at the SpecRite booth just this past one in Chicago and introduce myself and say, "You're Porterhouse. Like, man, it's such a pleasure to meet you." Standing there with other guys from LinkedIn in the packaging industry that we know. And then being here today, doing workshops for Afflink, meeting you. And it's the people that drive business forward. Our products are just the things we get to use to service our customers.
Again, it's a currency you have exchange.
It's a currency.
I totally agree with you, and because of that, one of the things that we did, which I think I'm really excited about. I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but I really think it is amazing what we're doing, and what in the old days. I don't know if you're familiar with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Mm-hmm. So Enterprise,
I worked there. Shout out Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
All right. So Enterprise, their claim to fame was there was Hertz, there was Avis, there was an Enterprise. But Enterprise had something that neither one of them did. They had this amazing training program, right? Mm-hmm. And you went to Enterprise not because you were selling cars or renting cars. You went there for their training program because you knew you would come out of that as a top manager and you can go anywhere.
Yep.
We've lost that. But Ernest now is turning its company into a learning and development company that happens to sell packaging. So what we're doing is now we're saying we're going to be the enterprise and we're going to disrupt, because not only can we disrupt in packaging, but if I can train the best and brightest to sell any type of quote unquote commodity because of relationship building, I can go into any business.
Now, okay, Tim. So
I'm really excited about that.
So you obviously, I love that, and I believe in that with my entire heart.
I don't know how to do it.
Right, it's not easy to figure out, right? But what do you say to the people? Because we've heard this all the time, and there's an amazing quote. Well, what if we train them incredibly well, and we give them all the tools to be successful, and then they leave? And the quote that often goes with that, well, what if we don't and they stay? How do you have the conversations when you're sharing this vision of how you want to do this? You're this learning and development company that sets people up for success, whether they stay in the industry or not. How do you handle the conversations with other leaders that go, well, you're training them and doing it, and then what if they leave you? What if they go somewhere else? Wasn't that a waste because they're no longer at your company?
So first of all, when I have this discussion with most of the people, they think I'm crazy. So it doesn't even matter.
Right.
But then these are the same people that take my people. So
because they're like, man, they're getting trained.
They're getting
awesome.
Trained, right. And here's the thing. There's two things that, again, we go back to the authentic and we go back to building this community. If you build a training program that doesn't incorporate the family, their family, if it doesn't incorporate the community, then they will leave you. But our training program is all about making the world better. So part of the training is not only personal development of sales, but personal development to be a leader of the family, to support the family, to support your community. If you do that, you're going to stay here because you are building something amazing. It's sort of like if you were on the dream team, why would you leave? You're on the best of the best team. You're not going to do it. Everyone always wants to be on the top team.
Yep.
And those that leave, hey, you know what? Do you think the greatest team ever cared? No.
No. And you know what? And it's not that those people leaving that it's negative on them. It just might be that the culture that was being built wasn't a culture that they maybe wanted to be a part of or they were passionate for, right? Like exactly. You had mentioned.
And the other thing is, I would rather compete against a smart salesman than a dumb salesman.
Agreed.
So if I train them to be smarter, we're all better.
Yep. And the customer experience is better with smarter salespeople. And
right.
You know what I think you're doing. It's so interesting, and it reminds me a lot of being a fan of this industry and then getting into equipment manufacturing. And leading the team that I led for a bit, I started working a lot more with Barry Waymiller and read the book by Bob Chapman, Everybody Matters. And in the book, one of the things that I found was interesting that they started implementing into their organization is they started tracking the divorce rates of their employees at their manufacturing plants, because they believed that if the divorce rate was high, they could correlate that to feeling undervalued and appreciated at work. And they believed that if people weren't feeling valued and finding purpose and joy in their work, then they would go home angry and not bringing value or helping create value with their families and bringing joy to their families. They'd come home pissed off and mad because they're working at a place where they don't feel cared for. And they started to see the shift in their culture once they started investing into caring for their people, doing similar things to what you're talking about, building the person, even their tagline, we help develop incredible people who create incredible things.
Yeah.
And what have you seen with that shift in that focus to focusing on not just the professional development, but the personal development of not only the individual, but the family and how that builds the community? What type of shift have you seen in the culture of your organization and your ability to hold on to top talent?
Well, so first of all, my father, who's going to be 99 this Friday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Really sets the whole thing. Family business is about the culture of family. And he's always been the one person, the shining example of family means everything. This is the most important thing. Work supports the family community. So we really never shifted away from that. We just all invested in it even more. So as we grew bigger, we were able to invest more of our resources into it. And so this time what we said is we're going to go all in the deep end. So credit to him and that generation, that greatest generation, because they came back from World War II totally,
broken.
And they built everything.
Yep.
And so we live on that. And that's really what I want to say. The other thing is it's a huge investment. I mean, you have to be all in because it's money's not going to make you wealthy.
Right.
And public companies can't do this.
Yep.
So to your last thing, I don't want to share numbers, but let's put it this way. I'm ecstatic.
And I think there's probably a lot of leaders in this industry that and probably people who are listening to this podcast that work in this industry that, what you're saying, to your point,
let me put it this way. I'll give you a stat, which blows me away. So we do all this stuff, and we've done the cardboard sessions, things where we created a cardboard Strat, drum, Fender bass guitar, and now with keyboard. So we got all this really cool stuff. Last year, we had 30,000 people want to come to work at Ernest. 30,000. That is friggin' crazy.
Wow.
Okay? Now, that shows me that we're doing it all right.
Yep. And you don't need the industry to be on board with you. You don't need the industry to agree with you. You don't need other,
No one does. So
no one does.
Yeah, right. Even my kids.
Yeah. I got told for the longest time, Tim, because I still go and do a lot of talks on love and leadership and how when we learn how to truly love and care for our people. And
I hate people. I'll be the first to tell you I hate people.
They're hard.
Yeah, they're really hard.
But they matter.
Of course.
Right? And I have people, caring for your people. No, it's not. You'll get rose-colored glasses. You won't be able to hold them accountable. And I'm like, whoa. Who said love and care didn't come without accountability?
Right.
You have to have those things.
Well, there's tough love.
There's tough love.
Yeah.
And it hurts sometimes.
It totally hurts.
Tim,
just one
yes,
little
please.
thing also is because you mentioned it and it was really good when you talk about people that leave. My father has one of his pearls of wisdom is if someone leaves you to go somewhere else, celebrate that because they're on their own self journey to greatness or whatever they do. And so if you were like that way station that helped them achieve that next job that's even better for them, celebrate it. You will live longer for that. And you know what? When I took that in mind, changed everything.
Oh, that's how you create legacy.
Right.
That's how people like your father, happy birthday, turning 99. But even after we are all long gone, the things that are going to be remembered about the legacy is how we helped other people get to where they want to be.
So if you go in there with that attitude, people will stay.
Yes. It's amazing. Tim, thank you so much for taking time to be on the Good News Podcast. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your journey and what you guys are doing so differently to really change how business is done in this industry. Like I knew from the outside looking in and knowing Porter a little bit about your organization, meeting some great young talent that you've hired that I've had the privilege to be able to coach a little bit with, and but I didn't know this, and even this, and I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart. What you were doing is incredible, and if there's anybody that could be gasoline to that fire of what you're doing to tell you you're not crazy, I just want to tell you, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. And this being an industry that I love so much, with people that this industry has changed my life. And the people that I've met in this industry are some of them are family to me now, vendors, other relationships that I've built at other distributors. And to hear what you're doing, man, I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Well, keep it a secret.
Yes, sir. Don't tell anybody. We're going to shine the thing like Men in Black after you listen to this, and it's all going to be erased from your mind. But thank you for joining us on the Good News Podcast. Guys, thank you for listening, and tune in next time.